Well, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to show you how to build something a little bit different than what we've done before. We've made sun catchers, we've made solar lanterns, and now what we're going to do, we're going to make a leaded glass floral design. This is going to be we're going to create a pocket in our glass. We're going to fuse that, and from there we'll put some artificial flowers in it. But for the design itself, we're going to just start with our drawing board, and we're going to come up with a circle. It's going to be about 12 inches in diameter. And when we get this all done, it will actually sit into a stand. It'll be freestanding, and we'll show you how to make that stand. It's an inexpensive way to display your leaded glass pieces. So anyway, we got some usual tools here. If you've watched any of my other videos, you notice when I draw the circles, I'm not using a compass. I'm using this ruler right here, which has a series of holes in it. And so I'll show you how we're going to use that. So we'll get started here. So I'm going to draw the basic pattern on this front sheet. I have below here, I have my pattern paper. So we're going to make a pattern for this. So we'll move all this stuff out of the way here. And we'll take in my drawing sheet is hinged on the top so I can pull it back, and we'll take our carbon paper, carbon side down, and we'll set them in here. I'm going to use about 4 pieces because this circle is fairly big. It's going to be 12 inches on the outside edge, so we want to be sure that we get our entire pattern. It's nothing worse to get it all drawn out and find out that your part of your pattern's not there, and then you have to kind of scramble around and figure out how you're gonna cut those pieces. So we want to do that. Pushing this in a little ways, just like that. Let me get this one turned around. Get this up off the edges of my drawing board so it doesn't interfere with our T-squares. Okay, so now I'm going to just take and pull this down, just like this. I'm going to tape it right here. Just a couple of pieces of masking tape to go on here. We'll do it on both sides. Okay, so now to make our circles, this ruler requires, it has some places a pivot point, and pivot point is right here. But how we're going to find the center of this. So if you watch my other videos, I'll show you how we're going to do that. We're going to take one of our push pins that we've been using, and this drawing board's the one I've been using before. You turn it over, and right here I've drilled a 1/16 inch hole, and I can just take and push this pin through it. It goes through my pattern piece, also goes through my drafting piece. I just turn it a couple times to open it up. Then when I turn this back over, now right here I've got my arrow, or my hole for my pivot point. So then I just take my ruler, start with the 1 inch area right here, set this in here, line this up on the hole, push it in. I have a little socket wrench right here. It just happens to be the right size to push this down nice and tight. Push that down. Then we're going to take our pencil. Going to come out here 6 inches. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches right here. Just push this in here. And I think we're going to make this about 3/4 of an inch wide. Here again, this is one of my cut and stack ideas. We're going to draw initial plans. We may deviate from them as we move along here. So anyway, maybe we'll come in here. Let's come in here 1, 2. Let's come over here, right here. We'll come to this one right here. That's kind of like 7/8 of an inch. Okay, so we'll take this out now. So that takes care of our initial circle. That'll be our border going around it. It's going to be done in a turquoise colored glass. Here it is right here. Take a look at it. It's a nice, pretty color. I've marked the direction, grain. Show which way the grain's running up and down here. So when we cut these pieces out here, we'll match them so they're all going the same direction. So this will be for our border. And the border is going to be divided up into 8 pieces, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. Then we'll go from there. So anyway, because this is pretty big, I'll bring in my great big T-square here. And we're going to go right here, up to the center line here. And we're going to take and we're going to mark this into divisions here. Here and here. I'm going to have to turn my board because this is so big. And we're going to go right here and right here. So that gets us into 4s, but we're going to make this into 8s. So to make it into 8s, you need a 45-degree triangle. Take your T-square in here. Just set it in here anywhere you want. Take and put your 45-degree triangle down here, right on your pivot point right here. And just go ahead and draw this out. Take and turn it over. Do the same thing here. And then I'm going to slide this up. I'll turn this back around. Kind of hard to get this all to go here at one time since it's so big. Plus, I want to do the right side. This side here on my drawing board and this side here are square. This other side over here is not square, so I want to be careful that I don't get it on the wrong one and our project starts to get wonky on us. So we don't want that to happen. If your triangle is long enough, you could go all the way across here, but mine's not. So we'll just come up here and we'll do it this way. Push this up. Here again, make sure your T-square is up against the edge of your board. You're on your center port, your center pivot point. Okay. So now we're broke into 8 equal parts for our border. So that's kind of taken care of. So we're going to get rid of that big one for a minute. Down the middle here, we're going to run a strip of glass 3 inches wide. This will be where we're going to make our pocket onto our center glass to hold our floral arrangement. The floral arrangement will be artificial flowers, and they'll be coming out of this pocket and kind of flaring out. I'll get my lovely wife to design the flowers for it because my eye on flowers would not be as good as hers. So we'll get her involved in this project also. So anyway, from the pivot point right here, this first piece of glass is going to be 3 inches. So I have a ruler right here, which happens to be 3 inches wide. And so rather than have to measure this, I can just put it right in the center of this ruler on our cut lines here. And I'm going to make a couple of really light lines right now, down and back up here. And I'm also going to make a couple of pieces go across this way, and they also are going to be 3 inches wide. So we'll do that again right here. 3 inches, 3 inches. And they're going to go from here to here, like that. Okay, so now this is going to be our main body. The main body is going to be done in this real pretty swirled glass. It's all different colors. This is a code 96 glass. This is for fusing. We'll cut this into a 3-inch strip down here. And then down here at the bottom, somewhere along here, we're going to build a little pocket. And what we'll do is up underneath the pocket, we're going to use some fire paper. We'll build it up about 1/4 inch high. And then we'll taper it off. And when we take and we fuse it, it'll slump down around here and it'll fuse all the way around. And it'll create a pocket so we can put our stems of our flowers down into it. So this will be going up and down here. This will be going across here. And this is also marked to show us the grain direction. So this one here will be all running up and down here. This one here will be running right here and right here. Now, we're not going to make this long. This piece is going to go in here is only going to be 8.5 inches. So we're going to fill in here at the top with some of the clear iridescent glass. This is one right here. This is what we're going to use this one right here. Here again, I got it marked directional. So it'll be filling in these areas in here. And we'll put one across the top up here also. So we'll get ready to draw this up and see where it comes out. I think I'm going to leave these corners just like they are. They're for the they're going to be the iridescent glass. I could put a little piece across here. I don't know if I want to do that or not. Maybe I will. Yeah. So let's just maybe we'll come up off the base right here. Let's come up about 3/4 of an inch. So here again, this is a cut and stack or kind of design on the fly. So we'll just mark that. We'll get our T-square in here. We'll give us a line right here. Make sure you're up against the drawing board here. So we're going to put a line all the way across here. Okay. And our centerpiece here is going to be, I think we'll make it about 8.5 inches. So let's come up here. Come up here to about 8.5. Get a little mark right here. Turn our board around. Here again, obviously, if you're doing this by yourself, without trying to tape this or to record it, you don't have to worry about moving this around. But I want to pull this up here to show you what we're going to do here. So I think this is going to come out to be about 1 inch. It is, yeah. It's a little bit bigger than down here, but that's all right. So we're going to mark this right here. Just like that. So that's our basic pieces for the project. What we'll do here is this is going to be iridescent, iridescent, iridescent across here. We're going to put our color, the same color that's here, in here, and in here, 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 and here. So this will give us our initial layout. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to put some directional arrows on here so that we will know how we want to put these pieces together, and then I'll number them. And so I'll go offline and do that, or I'll show you real quick how we're going to do that. Just going to take our T-square here, going to come up here, and I'm just going to take and I'm going to just draw just some quick lines like this. I'll move over here like this. I'm going to take and I'm going to put a little arrow point on it here. So I'll know that that's the way that I want this to be put on the glass. So we'll go ahead and cut it that way. So I'll go offline, I'll draw all the arrows in here, and I'll take and number all these pieces. And then when we come back, we'll have a pattern made up. I'll show you what that looks like. Then we'll proceed from there. This is going to be a fairly quick project because it's not going to have any hangers or anything on it. As I say, it's going to go in a display stand, and I'll show you how to make one real inexpensively. And it comes out as a nice presentation. So anyway, we'll be back in a minute, and we'll get started on putting this together. All right, we got everything back together here now. So we got all our arrows marked here. We got all of our pieces numbered. I took my felt tip pen and I blacked in the areas where the glass pieces are going to go. The arrows may appear to have a lot of overkill on this, but like where these are right here, if you don't have a couple of them on here, when you put it on the glass, you can get the top one lined up and the bottom one may be swinging out, and it just makes kind of an odd look to it. So, just take your time and put a few extra arrows in there so you can keep an eye on what you're doing here. Everything else is pretty straightforward here. Like I said before, this is going to be a pretty easy project. All these are straight cut here. These little pieces right here will probably be the hardest ones to cut. The circle, it's a big enough circle, so the inner cuts here are not a problem. You won't have any issue trying to cut those out. Probably the only issue you'll have with making this project, if you want to try it, is if you don't have any capabilities to do a firing your glass, then you're going to have an issue where this probably won't be a good project for you to try. But we're going to show you it anyway because it's nice to have a variety of things to make. This is just a pattern that we dreamed up as we're going along. Like I said before, my cut and stack idea, just start anywhere where you want. If you've got an idea, and just start to draw it out, and when you get done with it, you'll be surprised it comes out pretty nice for you. So anyway, we've got this all drawn up, so now we'll take this cover sheet off. Here again is hinged up here at the top. Just take your tape off here and take and hinge this back. And now take off your carbon paper. And here's our pattern pieces now. So they're all identical to our top piece. So that'll give us a area that we're going to work on. Like I said before, when we're doing the cut and stack idea, is we're just going to cut this out with just regular scissors. We're not going to use the shears that open up a gap for this, because if it gets a little bit big, we don't really care. We're going to make our own stand for this to go into. So if it grows a little bit, we'll just make the stand a little bit bigger, so it's not a big issue. So we'll take this off the board here. Get that out of the way. Then we'll come back with this and we'll pull this off the board. Okay, now get that tape out of the way. Take our board and move it out of the way here. Now we're going to get our carpenter square out. And we're going to set it in here against our backstop on our board that we're built on. And we're going to pick one of these down lines here, get it in here in the center so we can move it over here just a little bit so it's in the middle of the camera. And we'll pick one of these down lines here. We'll line it right up on it so it's nice and straight, so when we get ready to build, we won't have an issue with things getting crooked. So we just got it down here. Now after we got it lined up here, we'll just take some masking tape and we'll tape it down. I usually just tape it down on a couple corners here, and then I'll come back and I'll tape it down solid so that it doesn't move around on us. It's nothing worse than to get started on your project and then have it start to go crazy on you, and it's too late to try to fix it. All right, so when we come back, we're going to get ready. We're going to cut some pieces for this, and we'll get ready to put this all together. So like I said, it's going to be a fairly quick project. All right, we're back. We got our centerpiece cut here, and so now we're going to put our pocket on here. If you're not familiar with fused glass, what we're going to do is we're going to create a form underneath here. We're going to do it with this fiber board right here. It's an 1/8 inch thick. Got a couple pieces, and we're going to line them up at the top here, but we're going to offset them here like this. And what we're going to do with those, we're just going to take and put a little white glue on them and glue them together. Just a little bit of white glue along here. Just like that. Now I'm going to set this in here just like this. I'm going to create a double thickness now. So now it's almost 1/4 inch thick right across the top here. And I'm leaving this different sizes here because what we're going to do, we're going to put this on our, this is the glass, this is what we're going to use to make our pocket, this piece here. It's going to go right here. And we're going to fire this onto here. And by making this smaller than this, these edges will slump over and they will fuse to the inside of this piece right here. So what we're going to do after we've got this glued together, now we're going to take this and we're going to turn it over, and we're going to take and we're going to glue this down. Just like that. And we're going to take the smaller piece against our glass, just like this. We're going to line it up with the top. We're going to line it up with both the bottoms here, just like that. So now this edge right here, when we start to heat it in the kiln, it will start to sag or come over. And when it sags down and touches this piece of glass right here, which is at the same temperature, they will fuse together and they'll create a one piece out of these two pieces. So after we get this on here, we'll let it sit here for a minute. And then we'll go ahead and we'll put it on here, and then we'll put it in the kiln and we'll go ahead and fire it. We're going to fire it at 1435 degrees. That should be enough to fuse it and also to get it to slump over our fiber board here. So what we'll do right now is we're going to take this. This is where it's going to go in our project right here. This other piece that's left over, we're going to cut some pieces to go here, here. These two little ones up here and two little ones down here will be of the colored glass. Then we're going to put our iridescent glass in here. So this now, what we're going to do is we're going to take it, we're going to put some glue here. Let me take and get some. Take and put just a few little drops here. I'm going to turn this over. And we're going to put this right here. Line it up here. Going to set it in here about a ½ an inch above. And it's going to be right here with about a ¼ inch on each side to make that sag over on it. So we're going to set that in there just like that. So this, when we fire it, then we'll come back in here and we'll take this fiber board that's in here and we can pick it back out. What the fiber board does is it keeps this glass from collapsing onto the base glass. So after we get that down, I'm just going to take a piece of kiln paper. This is fire paper. This is used so it doesn't stick to the kiln shelf. And I'm just going to put a couple dabs here. And I'm going to set this over here and I'm going to set it on our fire paper. If you don't use the fire paper and your kiln doesn't have kiln wash on it, the glass will stick to it and then you've ruined your job. So we don't want to do that. Check and make sure this is straight here, or as straight as possible. That looks pretty good right there. So we'll let that set for just a minute. Before we put it in the kiln, we'll let it dry just a little bit. This is my kiln shelf right here. So we're going to set this right in the center here, just like this. So we'll set this aside and then we'll go ahead and we'll let that glue dry just a little bit. Put this right in the center of that. Then we'll put it in the kiln and we'll go ahead and we'll fire it. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and cut up the rest of our pattern pieces here, and we'll get ready to cut the rest of the glass on this one. Since this project is not really difficult other than making this pocket right here, probably what I'll do is I'll cut a couple, 3 pieces here to show you how we're going to do it. Then I'll go offline and I'll cut all the glass for this. Then I'll come back and show you how we're going to assemble it. So you'll get a feeling for that. This little one here, this one, and this one are probably going to be the most difficult to get fixed in here. Because what we'll do, we'll start in the middle and we'll build out. We'll build out to this line right here. We'll wrap this in H-came around here. Then we'll put our border on and we'll put the U-came around the outside. Like I said, this is going to have no hangers or anything on it. It's going to fit into a stand that we're going to make, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So it'll come out, it'll be a nice presentation, and like I said, I'll get my wife to come out and we'll put some artificial flowers. They'll come out of the pockets that's in the center here. They'll come out of the pocket and flare out over the front of this. So it'll be a real interesting project. I've done several of these over the years and just thought this one might be a fun one to put on my YouTube channel. So we'll be back. It's going to take all afternoon to fire this, and so we'll be back and we'll start to work on this, the rest of this without the centerpiece in here. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, before I get started to cut the rest of the glass for this, I wanted to show you this. This is the pocket that we fused onto this project right here. So now it's open in here. I just took and picked out the fiber board that we had put in here to keep the opening open. So if you look, I'll put it right here so you can see down inside here. This is where we'll put the stems for our artificial flowers. And so if you look right here, you can see how nice it fused right to the base glass right here. And so one correction, I said I was going to fuse this at 1435. I thought that might be a little bit cold, so I went to 1450. So if you're going to be trying that, that works well. Probably could even have gone to 1460. Would have fused it a little bit tighter, but this is nice and smooth right here, so I'm happy with that. I took it on my grinder and I squared it up a little bit, because when you do fuse them, sometimes they pull in a little bit and they'll be kind of wavy. So I want to be sure that this is nice and straight. So we're getting ready to cut the rest of the pieces for this, and we're going to set it in here. If I would have taken a better look at this glass when I got started, I would have done this a little bit different. I would have redesigned this. I made this 8.5 long, and so I went ahead and cut this 8.5 long. And then when I got to looking at it, if I would have, the glass that I have, the sheet comes, it's just a partial sheet. It comes in an 8x12. If I would have left it at the 8x12 mark and made this 8 inches, what I would have done, and I didn't think about this until after I cut it all up, is that, move this out of the way, this is the 12-inch way here, it would have been 8 inches up here. So if we can visualize this, this would have been in here like this. Find out where it lines up right here. Like that. What I would have done is I would have come in here and I would have cut this piece right here, right out of this area right here, straight up and down. Then I would have cut this long piece, and then I would have come right next here, and I would have cut this piece here next. And what that would have done, would all of these swirl lines would have lined up on each other as they came through here. But unfortunately, I've already cut this and fused it. And of course, you know, hindsight's always 20/20, so it's a little bit late. So this project here, we'll just go ahead and do what we're going to do. So we're going to have a little bit of a mixed bag here as far as the glass goes. We'll go ahead and run them up and down, but we'll go ahead and this one's going to fit in here like this, and we'll have a piece that fits in here. I can get this one to line up over here. So we'll do that. So keep that in mind. I should have looked at the glass a little closer before I got it, but I didn't. And like I say, since this is a cut and stack, we're designing this any way we want. I could have made this, you know, up at the top here, could have made it a 1/2 inch longer. So this could have been 8 inches, and we could have blended it all together. So we'll use that. I've got another piece of this glass. Maybe we'll make another one like that, and we'll line them all up. So we'll try it and see how it comes out. So anyway, I'm going to go offline here. I'm going to cut all our pieces. We're going to have 2 pieces of colored glass here, 2 down here in the bottom, 2 up here. Everybody else is going to be the clear. All right, well, we're back. We got all our pieces put in here now. So everything fits nice and tight. So now we're going to put our H-came around this. We're going to stop the H-came right over here by this joint right here. So we'll start over here and then we'll bring it around. As you can see, I've already pre-bent this. I took here again, found something that was just about this same size and kind of pre-bent it so we can get started. So we'll start right here. So we'll take this out. And we'll take this one out here. And we'll pull this in here. And we're going to set it right here. I marked this. This is where the center of this is. So I can take and pin it right here. I can start to bring it around. Wherever there's a joint, I'm going to put a pin. So we'll bring this right around. Okay, so we're going to get down here in the bottom here. When you get down to the bottom here, you have to be a little bit careful because these little tiny ones have a tendency to want to fall out of there. So be careful that you get them up into the H-came, just like that. Here again, I'm going to use a lot of pins. I want it up tight against this. Pull this one out here. Pull it on around. So after we get the H-came on here, the next thing we're going to do is we'll go ahead and we'll put our border on. Okay, so we're going to bring this right up here. I'm going to go on around here because I want to keep the contour good. And I measured this again to find out how long to make this by using my string and go around the outside edge. I always make it a couple inches longer. That way we can always cut it back to where we want to go here. So now we're going to mark this right here. And that'll be where we're going to make that one come. So I'm just going to take my lead shears or dikes, line it up here. It's just a little bit too long. There we go. Right here. Keep this pinned up nice and tight. Okay. Now we'll come up the top side here. We're going to do the same thing. We're just going to come on around. Here again, keep these little pieces up so they don't sneak down underneath there for you. Be sure to keep that lifted up so it gets into the slots or the channel on the H-cane. Okay, here we go. Pull everything out of the way here. Come on around. Okay, now I'm going to let this overlap just a little bit until I get it to where I want it. So I'm going to cut it long intentionally, and then I'm going to take and trial fit it until it fits in there really nice and tight. So I'm going to cut it right about here. I'm going to take my dikes again, flat side. Well, that's really close right there. Just a little trim right there. All right. I'm going to take a little block of wood here. It's a little piece of my form wood right here. I'm going to push that in nice and tight right here. Take and pin that just right like that. Put one more pin here, and let me grab one more here. So now when we put our border on here, where this piece of H-cane comes in here, it'll be coming in here like this. When we solder that, you never know where it started and where it ended. So I've got my pattern all on my glass, the turquoise glass for the border. So I'm going to go out, I'll cut that all up. I'll show you what it's going to look like. Here's all the pieces on here. They're all directional. As I said before, it wastes quite a bit of glass to make them go directionally, but the end result is worth it, I think. Especially on some of this glass. This particular glass is not expensive whatsoever, so the fact that we're going to have some little pieces left over, we can use them for another project somewhere. You'll get just a lot nicer looking job if you do that. If you're short on glass, you don't have this luxury, then just stack them all in here real close and cut them out, and most of the time they'll look just fine. So anyway, I'll go offline, get these all cut up, come back on, and we're going to show you how to put together. Then we'll wrap it with our U-cane, and we'll get it all soldered up, and we'll be ready to put it into our rack, our display rack, and our stand, and we will put some flowers in it, and the project will be done. So we'll be back in a little while, and we'll put these borders on it and get it soldered up. All right, well, we're back. We got all our border pieces put in now. So the last thing we need to do is going to wrap the outside edge in our U-came here. So as I've done before in the other projects, we pre-bent this. Here again, I just bent this around the paint barrel to get the smooth edge on it. So we'll start right at the top here. We're going to end up down here at the bottom. I've measured this with the string again. So I just put the string, just a piece of string, started over here, go around, and then I add a couple of inches to it to find out how long to make this one. This particular piece is 43 inches long. So to get started, we're going to go right here at the top. So here again, we'll start by removing some of our pieces that are holding things together here. Try not to get too many ahead of yourself, because things will start to get away from you, and then you'll have some trouble here. So we're going to pull this down here. I marked the center point right here. So I'm going to just take and slide that in there. Just like that. Pick pieces, there we go. You can tell when they're not quite right because it should slide in nice and smooth. And if it doesn't, that means something's up out of the edge. Normally what's happened is it's underneath the lip of the channel on your U-came, and it's going to create a problem. So just bring it on around. Here again, I'm going to pin it pretty heavily. Come around here, get this one out of the way. After you play with this for a while, you get the hang of how to get this put together. Here again, keep in mind I'm filming this, the camera's right above me, so it's a little hard. I have to reach over everything. So when you're doing it by yourself, you can have it much closer to you, and it doesn't look quite as difficult as this is. So just keep moving things out and keep pushing it around. By pre-bending this, it helps me get started. I could just start off it right here and just bend it all the way around. But I like to pre-bend it because it gives a little bit of smoother bend. So we're going to come on around here. Move this one out here. Here again, pick it up. Be sure it's not underneath the glass there. And here's where we're going to end. We're going to end right here at this joint because we're going to hide it when we solder it. So what we're going to do, we're going to take here, like we've done before, we're going to take and pull this on around, and we're going to go on around. I want to do that on purpose because I want to get this contour right here. If you don't do that, this will kind of want to stay straight. Otherwise, it'll want to go off here straight, and you won't get a nice smooth curve right here. So even though you're sacrificing maybe a couple of inches of your U-came, you'll get a much nicer looking job. So then just take your pin, mark it right in the center of this piece of H-came here. Just let it spring out. You take your dikes again, here again, the flat side, just come down here, pull it out here, and you take and just cut it. That's what we want right there, okay? So now we're going to go ahead and pin that back. We'll pin it here. Now we're going to come up here and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to run it on down around. I know you probably think I'm crazy for using all these pins, but I found over the years, if you pin everything really tight, you don't have anything move, and when you get it all soldered together, all of a sudden you find a piece that's either gotten up out of the channel or it's loose, and then you've got a choice to either take it all apart or how are you going to fix that. So just to be a little patient and go ahead and pin it. If you've got that many pins going around here. Okay, now like we've done before, here's where it's going to end right here. I'm going to cut this a little bit long, and then I'm going to try to work my way back real slow to make it just slide in there. So here again, have a little bit of patience with this. Okay, so it's a little bit long still. Still just a little bit. You can see I'm just taking little tiny cuts here. That looks like what we want. Take a little block of wood. Here's what I mean by when you don't let it go on the way around. See how this wants to stay straight here? So I'm going to have to force it to go round here. There we go, right there. That's what we want right there. So now when we solder that, nobody will see that joint whatsoever. Get one more pin in here. If you're worried about this area right here as far as getting in there to solder, just take one of your little pieces of wood that we use for our forms like this. Pull these two out. Take this and push it in here really super tight, as hard as you can push on it. And take and pin this just like this. That way you'll get a nice tight wrap all the way around. So that looks really good. We'll clean up our mess here a little bit. And then I'll plug the soldering iron in and we'll get ready to solder this up. And the project will be almost done. We'll go ahead and build us a display stand so we can display this because it's going to be freestanding. And so we'll be back in a minute. Let me get the soldering iron going. I'll just start to show you how to solder it, and then I'll go offline and finish it. Most everybody has watched my videos, knows how we solder this. So we'll be back in a minute. All right, we're back. We got our soldering iron all plugged in, so now we're ready to go ahead and solder this. I'll get it started and then go offline and finish it up. Most everybody's watched me solder before. You get the idea. So we're going to start at any of these joints right here, and I'm going to use a small stainless steel brush here. I'm going to shine up the cane so that if I have any fingerprints or oxidation on it, it will certainly solder nice for us. So we'll go ahead and go over most of those. I'll just do that just real quick for a few of these right here, and then we'll go from here. I'm going to move this pin over here. This is the one where we made the joint right here. So pull this one over also. And right here I've got this little block of wood in here for this one here. So we'll pull this one over here a little bit. Now, like I said before, I usually use an old piece of U-came here. Although this soldering iron has a regulated temperature tip. This is the Waller 100 watt with a 700 degree tip in it. I usually take a piece of cane like this and just make it go over it just a little bit because I don't want to start to solder my project and have the iron too hot and have it melt my lead. So we're going to take a liquid flux here, and we're just going to go ahead and we're going to flux up these areas right here. And we'll just solder a few pieces here so you can get a feel for how we're going to do this. Soldering is one of those things, just keep practicing and you'll get a technique that you like to work yourself. I like to take my solder and cut it into a strip like this, and because I can hold it down flat against it. When I start, I usually like to just tin my iron just a little bit, and then I just like to hold it right here and just take and pull it right like that. Down here for this one here, take about 1/8 of an inch off the end of your solder, and you can solder all 4 corners of that at one time, just like that. I try to make the beads all as close to being the same as possible. Sometimes that doesn't work, but you try your best you can. So we just move on around. When you have one like this, it kind of sucks down a little bit. Just add just a little bit more to it and get your bead where you want it. Here's where we brought our U-came together right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and solder that shut. See how it disappears there? So now you don't know where we soldered that or where those ends came together here. Here's where we soldered the, right here's where the H came together right here, so you don't see that anymore. All right, so you guys get the idea here. There's a couple here we still had ready to go here. So I'll go offline, I'll solder both sides of this, and then when we come back, I'll have it all cleaned up, and we'll make a stand for it, and then we'll put it in the stand, and I'll get my lovely wife to come out, and we'll take some artificial flowers, and we'll put them in the pocket here, and they'll flare out, and then we'll have a nice display. So we'll be back in a minute. All right, I want to come back here real quick. I got this all soldered up on this side here. Now we're going to turn this over, but because of this pocket here, if we turn it over, it's not going to be flat on our table, and we kind of like to solder it when it's flat. So if you watch the other video on the sun catcher that has the antique plate in it, the one from the Depression plate, I have this box right here, has a hole cut in it. So we're going to use that again. We're just going to take this and turn it over, and we'll put the pocket in that opening area there. This makes this lay flat now. So I'll go ahead and solder this all up, and we won't have to worry about it, some of it maybe bending or lifting up. So just a little tip there. If you don't have a box that you can cut a hole in it, maybe lay a couple pieces of wood down here or something underneath here to keep the pocket from raising up and not having a flat surface. So anyway, we'll go back on. I'll get this finished up, and then we'll break away, and after I get it cleaned up, I'll show you how it all looks. And then we'll go, like I said before, we'll go ahead and I'll show you how to make an inexpensive display stand for it. And we'll put it in the stand, and we'll put the flowers in it. All right, we're back. We got it all cleaned up now, so I just wanted to let you take a look at it. So it came out really nice. This is the front side, obviously. And then here again, we have our back side. So everything came out good. The iridescent glass looks really pretty on it, and should be a really attractive piece. So like I said before, we'll make the stand, and then we'll put it in it, and we'll put our flower arrangement in it, and the project to be done. So if this is the first video of mine that you've watched, you may appear that we've skipped some steps, especially putting this together. This is for somebody who's got some knowledge of leaded glass. This isn't for a beginner, but if you haven't watched some of my real early ones, they're a lot more detail as far as cutting the lead, soldering, and doing things like that. So don't be discouraged if you start to watch this and go like, I don't understand what he's doing. Go back and watch some of the earlier ones, and you'll get a good idea of what's going on. Anyway, we'll be back as soon as we get the stand made, and we'll show you how this all goes together. Okay, well, we're back. We've got our stained glass portion of this project all done. So now we need some way to display it. We didn't put any hangers on it, so we can't put a chain on it. We could prop it up against something. Or in this case, what we're going to do, we're going to build a freestanding frame for this. And we're going to build it here out of some 3/8 copper tubing. Get this at the hardware store. This for a 12-inch, this around the outside edge of our project's 12 inches. So you need a 24-inch piece for the outside loop or the outside ring. And we're going to use 2 legs on it. They're both going to be 8 inches long. I've marked them here. Here's where we're going to mount our legs to the main piece here. But before we drill any holes or do anything with it, we're going to bend them so that we don't lose the shape of our holes. If you pre-drill it and then bend it, most likely what will happen, it'll want to bend right where you drilled it, because that's the weakest part, and you won't get a nice smooth bend. I'm going to use a few things here. We've got a big screwdriver here. What we're going to do with that is we're going to fold and make some little U-clips right here. These U-clips will go around. There'll be 3 of them. There'll be one at the top. There'll be one at the top of our loop, and one right in the middle of our loop, and one over here. that's where our project will slide down inside of these loops, and that's what will hold it from coming out of there. This is made out of the same material that we've made our little tabs for the bottoms in our solar lanterns. It's a galvanized tin. It's a real thin material. It's about a ½ inch wide by about an inch and I'm going to say 1.25 inches long. Well, let's measure it here. Let's see here. It's 1.5 inches long. So the way that works is we take a screwdriver like this. We just take and line up the line on it right like this. And you just take and you bend it down around. And that makes our loop. This particular screwdriver happens to be just exactly the right size, so that when we go to put this on our loop, so when we go to put it on our tubing here, it makes it push by. It's tight. We'll be able to push it in here like that. I'll show you this later. We're going to solder this, and then we just take and we'll pull it in. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a propane torch to solder this. We'll heat this up, and then we'll solder on both insides of this to hold this onto our loop, so the glass will slide between here. So that's what that's for. We have a pop rivet gun here. This gun here is designed to use these pop rivets. These are 5/32 by ½ an inch long. And what they're going to do, they're going to go through the legs and into the bottom part of our main tube here. So we're going to show you how all this works together. The tubing comes in a roll, so when you buy it, it's all curled up. Just take it out and roll it flat on your work table till you get it worked out, till it's smooth enough to work with. To cut the material, you can use a couple things. You can use a razor saw, you could use a hacksaw. I'm using a tube cutter, and the way that works is it has a cutting wheel right here, 2 little guide wheels right here, and you insert your tubing in here, and you just take and you turn this and you tighten it up every turn. You give it just a little bit more pressure, and you just keep turning it. And what's happening here is you're pushing the cutting wheel further into the tubing. The copper is fairly soft, so you can do this fairly easy. And this gives us a nice burr-free cut. There it goes right there. So now we have a nice end on here. So that's how the tube cutter works. So that works very well for us. So what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to go offline and I'm going to bend these up. And what we're going to do to bend these up is I have a 5-gallon paint can. The top of it happens to be exactly 12 inches in diameter. So I'm going to use a couple Phillips head screwdrivers. And when I get ready to bend them, I'll insert them. I'll try to shoot a picture of this. I'm going to insert them into my tubing like this on each end. And then when I put it on the barrel, I'm just going to take and pull these down around, and we'll wrap around the barrel. So I'm going to go offline and see if I can set this up with the camera so we can get a picture of it. These are going to be done the same way. I'm going to put the screwdrivers in the ends, and I'm going to wrap these up around the barrel just to get a nice little smooth curve to them. So we'll be back in a second. I'll see if I can get that set up, and we'll get a camera on it, and we'll go from there. All right, well, I've got all our pieces here now. So I've got our paint can here, and I've got our pieces that we're going to work with. So anyway, so how we're going to do this is we'll go ahead and do the legs first. So I'll show you how that's going to work. So we're going to take our Phillips head screwdrivers, and we're going to put them into our pipe right here like this. And we're just going to take them right here, and we're just going to take them, we're going to bend them down around, just like that. So that gives us our nice curve for our legs. As I said before, the copper is quite soft, so you can do this pretty easily. Just put it here, bend it right around here. Take a look at our two legs together. Looks like what we want right there. Now we're going to take our long one here, and we're going to put our screwdrivers in here. I'm going to try to do this one kind of like in two sections here. We'll start right here, and I'm going to pull this around here like this. And I'm going to go past dead center here just a little bit. That way we can trim it back. This one here, I'm just going to come on around here with it. Pull it around. Take my screwdriver now and pull it around. Here again, now I'm going to go past dead center. And that makes our perfect loop now, 12 inches across. We can pull those in a little bit if we need to, if it's a little bit too big. So anyway, so that's how we're going to bend that around. If you want to, you can take this and push it in here and come on around with it just a little bit more if you want to. Make that fit just a little bit tighter. So that's how we're going to get our initial form for this. So now what we'll do is we'll come in here, and right here, this is the center line. Here's where our two legs are going to go. The legs are going to sit in here. They'll sit in here like this, underneath. And we'll show you how we're going to attach those in a second. So we'll be back, and we'll go back up onto our work table now that we've done this very scientific bending job. And we'll get ready to show you how we're going to put this together. Okay, we're back. We got all our pieces bent now, and we drilled them all. So on the loop now, this is a 5/32 hole right here. And you notice it just goes through the bottom of it. It doesn't come up to the top here. That's because when we put the legs on, we want this to stay smooth on the top. The legs now, I drilled the 5/32 hole all the way through, and then I took my Dremel tool with a disc sander on it, and I notched these a little bit so they'll fit around the contour of the tubing here. So they'll look like this. So this will help sit in here, and it gives me a bigger surface to solder to when I get ready to solder them. So the way this works is that we're going to bring in our drill vise again. Going to set it right here. Unfortunately, the drill vise is open here in the bottom here. So what we're going to do, we're going to set this in here like this, and we're going to take and we're going to tighten this up. All right, I'm going to bring our pop rivet gun in here, and we're going to insert the pop riveter in here. It goes in here. The way this works, this little ball on the end here, when I start to give this pressure, this will expand and pull down inside the opening of the pop rivet here and flare it out, so it'll get trapped in here. So what we're going to do is take one of our legs here. This will be the front side of this project. Make sure I get the right leg on the right one here, because I want the leg to flare out in the front. So we're going to put our pop rivet in here, and then we're going to insert our pop rivet into our loop, or into our hoop. And we're going to push it all the way down, just like that. Then we're going to start here, and we're going to start to crank this up. And as I pull this up, I push this down. And what it's doing, it's pulling that ball up into the pop rivet, and which is spreading it inside the tubing here. And when it pops off like that, what's happened is that it's pulled actually apart, and we can take this pin out of here. Sometimes we get a little stuck. So this gives us our leg here now, so it's fastened in here. It'll be a little bit loose, which is fine, because we want to be able to adjust it a little bit so we can put some tilt on our project. So now we're going to move over on the other side here. And we're going to take and we're going to bring this in here. And we're going to go ahead and we'll put our pop rivet in our gun. Here again, insert it into our leg, and we're going to take and push it in here like this. So we'll start to put pressure on it, just like that. Let it sit down in here. Pull that up. Let it pop off. Pull this out. Like I said, sometimes these get a little bit stuck in here, so just work them back and forth until it comes loose. Or you can take a pair of pliers and pull them out with a pair of pliers, whatever works. We'll just take this real quick and I'll show you. Just take your long nose pliers and stick it in here and just pry up on it and pull it out. Okay, so now we got our legs on here. They're going to sit like this. Now I can take and adjust them here to pull them in or out, however how I want to do this. Make sure they're sitting flat on the table. We want to push this back a little bit because we want this to be slanted back a little bit. So I'm going to just take and slowly push this back till I get an angle that I like. Not too steep, just a little bit. I don't want to go straight up and down. I want it to be displayed just a little bit. So I'm going to push this back just a little bit more, like that. Okay, that looks good right there. Going to go ahead, now we'll solder all around this area right here and on both sides of it. Then we'll put our clips on. And we got some little plastic feet we're going to put on down here, and we'll be ready to put this all together. So it's not a really big deal. This is the most important part right here, is to get this to go in here the way you want it. So I'll get the torch out and we'll get ready to solder these up, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we're back. I've got my propane torch here right now. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to apply some heat to this. And when you solder with the propane torch, you kind of heat the area up a little bit. And then you're just going to put a little bit of solder on here and just let it flow. Don't put too much on because it'll go all over everywhere. And this gets hot really fast, so be careful. Don't go reaching in here to try to touch something or readjust something. Be sure that's what you want before you get going. If you get a little blob of solder that you're not happy with, just heat it up and it'll come right off. Okay, so we're going to let that set for a second. I'm going to turn this around. Get it over here where we can see it here. Set this up on a board here so you can kind of see what we're going to do here. It's already kind of soldered back underneath here. It's bled underneath it. So we're going to take here and we're going to flux it up again. We did the first side. And then we'll come back here. Set our iron in here. Just keep heating it till it flows away. There it goes. This takes a little fooling around with to get used to doing this with this. All right, I think that's about all we need right there. Let's turn this off. We'll let this cool down a little bit, and then I'll come back and we'll check our solder joints and see where we're at. Okay, so we're back. We got everything kind of cleaned up here a little bit. So now we're going to put our little clips on here, which will hold our project. And so these are the ones that that we made out of the galvanized tin. We bent them around the screwdriver. So we'll start right here. And then it's going to push on here like this. I've got it marked. I'm going to put this a half an inch down from the top right here. And I'm going to turn this in. I'm going to give it just a little pinch in here. And I want it to be even. So when the piece sits in here, it'll be even with this right here. Now, to put these in, I'm going to just take this. And I'm going to take it on my drill vise again, and I'm going to mount this, just a little bit of pressure here. And then we're going to take and light up our torch again here. Okay, we're going to take here, and then we're going to take and flux inside here. And what we're going to do here, we're just going to add, turn this way here, so you can see what we're going to do here. We're going to put the temperature of the torch right here on the edge, and when it starts to bubble here, we're going to put our solder in here. I'm just going to let it flow, just like that. Now we can come over on the other side here. We'll put it in here and just let it flow. That's all there is to it. So I'll go ahead and do the other two. Okay, so we're back here. We got it all cleaned up now. So I went around all these solder joints here and cleaned up anything that I didn't like as far as what was hanging over. Here I took some areas where it had bled over off. Right here I did the same thing. Here cleaned that all up and cleaned this all up. So now to finish this up, we're going to take these small end caps, and the end caps go on here. You just can start them on. Make sure you got them started straight. Just take them on the side of your workbench and push them on. And they'll go all the way down nice and flat like that. So just set them on here. Make sure they're on straight. Put them on the edge of your workbench and just push them on. And that finishes off the top of them. And now on our legs, these are plastic. These are the caps that you put over a screw or a bolt that's sticking through something you want to make sure somebody doesn't get hooked on. They're made of plastic, so they're perfect, so they can go on the legs here. They slip right on here like this. So we'll stick them on all four corners, just like that. So we've got it all taken care of now. So by putting these on the ends here, if you put it on a piece of furniture, it also helps it from sliding around. But you put it on a piece of furniture and you move it back and forth, you're not going to scratch it because. So everything looks like it's lined up really good here. So I'll go offline. We're going to spray paint this with a flat black or a satin finish black, and that'll get the end of the project to be done. I'll come back after we get it painted, show you the end of it. And so then our display stand will be all done. So all we got to do is slide in our finished piece of stained glass and the project will be done. So I hope everybody's followed along. Back real quick here, I just wanted to show you the stand. We've got it all made now. So we've got it all spray painted with our satin finish on it. So now that we've got the stained glass part of the project done, we're just going to go ahead and we'll insert it in here. And we'll put our flower arrangement in it, and we'll show you how the outcome was. All right, well, we're back. We got the video all done now. My wife did a beautiful job putting the flowers all in it. So if you have any questions about the project, hit the subscribe button, leave me a message, and I'll get back to you. Give it a try, and we'll see you on the next video.